and warm morning from wherever you are joining us from this Thursday when on Family Matters, where we are discussing relationship clinic, and it is about communication in relationship. As we all know, communication is the cornerstone of any relationship. It could be, you know, office, at home, it is the cornerstone. And this morning, I'm really blessed and honored to be joined by an amazing couple. You know, the Achokis are here. They are here to take us through, you know, the communication in relationship. They're the experts, and karibuni sana. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate that. So we'll start by introduction.
Hi, I'm Barnabas Achoki, a marriage and a relationship coach. Yes.
Grace.
I'm Grace Achoki, also a marriage and relationship coach. We work together.
Wow.
We are also authors. And we are also parents. Yes.
Lovely.
Yeah.
And I hope for my listeners who may not be able to see, you know, what we have in studio, the communication is there, guys. They're both complimenting each other, even the way they're dressed. So you on the YouTube and just follow that and talk to me on our, you know, all the socials, 20316, WhatsApp 0786316316. The communication experts are here, so bring in all your questions. Imagine for free, munapatiwa hapa some tips for free. Karibuni sana. And I think I'll start with Barnabas, and I'll ask you, what are there different types of communication? Or
yeah, there are different types of communication. Basically, maybe 4 types.
okay.
There is a verbal communication. We are now having a verbal communication.
Yes.
There is written, sending text messages, sending emails. You know, Gen Zs are we have some Gen Zs in our house.
Okay.
And they constantly are just texting. They rarely call and talk.
Right, yes.
So there is also written communication. Then there's nonverbal.
Okay.
Yeah, you can just, you know, by your body language, your actions can communicate.
Okay.
Even silence itself can communicate.
It is communication.
It is communication, yeah. So there's nonverbal communication.
Okay.
And then there's visual, where, I mean, just watching. So there's communication going on and you watch a program on TV or something, or just by seeing some picture.
Okay.
They say some pictures speak louder than words. Yes.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Grace, probably you may want to take us through what really is good and effective communication, especially in a relationship.
In a relationship, thank you, Sally. In a relationship, the good and effective communication is when you're able to send a message to someone or to people, a group, and they are able to listen to what you're saying and respond accurately to what you have said. So that is effective communication. Because you can just have communication. Give me a pen,
right?
You know, but you're not saying what color, or bring pens home, buy for me pens. So you didn't say what kind of pen. Is it a big pen or is it a ink? Is it what kind of pen? Is it a pointed? And what color? So then your spouse arrives with pens and you're saying, I didn't want red, but to them they felt red was better for you.
Because you're not specific.
You're not specific. So it has to be specific, and it has to be you asking questions, not just communicating, but it's a back and forth. I say it's a journey because it's back and forth. There is the sender, there is the receiver. So the sender is sending the message, and the receiver kind of reflects what the sender has said, so that they are clarifying what is it that you have said. So it's back and forth. This is what I have said. So is that accurate? Yes. Okay. Tumeleta nyama without bones. And that is what I wanted. I remember one time when I asked my husband to bring meat home. And I wanted to make pilau. And he brought meat with a lot of bones. And I'm wondering, wow, okay. But I wasn't specific. So that was not effective communication. I should have been specific. But on the other hand, he should have also asked what kind of.
Exactly.
You have to clarify. So it's back and forth. And that is what really makes it effective.
Okay, So, you know, there's good communication, then there's effective communication. There's communication, then there's effective communication. And what role, Barnabas, does effective communication play in a relationship or a marriage, even in your own effective communication?
Yeah, when you talk about effective, it should produce some effect.
Yeah.
So it's very, very important, like Chris is saying, that the message I'm sending, you are receiving the same message, and it's producing the intended effect. So often in relationships, we are not very clear in what we are saying, or sometimes it's not effective in the sense that something is missed in between. So you misread a message.
You're right.
You assumed something, and so that then brings a lot of conflict in the relationship. But when there's clarity and there's effective communication, then it produces the effect that you want, because the communication, the purpose of that communication is also to connect the two of you.
And so what are some of the barriers? Because yes, there's this communication, but okay, of course, some of the barriers is something like that, lack of understanding, lack of, what more is there, like, apart from those that we've mentioned? Any more barriers, probably in a communication?
Yes. When there is criticism, that will cause a barrier, because the sender is sending the message. But when the receiver gets it, they feel criticized. So then that's a barrier. Immediately there is a wall that is erected. So you can't move past that, because you already feel criticized. You came home late. You're not a good husband. You're not a good wife. They have sent they've sent communication. That is communication. They've sent a message. But that message, the way it has landed, it is already death on arrival. So the receiver is getting it, and there is a wall. So that's the end of that communication. Whatever you say after that is just passing. It doesn't matter. It's just because they already feel judged. So judgment is another thing. So when there is judgment, then that's a barrier. When there is silence, then that's also a barrier, because you can be talking to somebody like on the phone, and they're not, you know, just those small things that they say, really. That's also good communication, because it shows that you're listening. But if there is silence, then that's a barrier, because you wonder, have I said the wrong thing? So then that's the end of the communication, because you feel, maybe I've said something wrong, so it's just see you later. And that's it. So there are many barriers that can cause us not to effectively communicate, and, you know, just end the communication at that place.
All right. And also there's you have spoken about non-verbal communication. Does non-verbal communication play any role in a relationship or a marriage?
A lot. In relationships, non-verbal, you know, with a stranger, you may not really read a lot in their body language, but in a relationship, a lot. Just your demeanor, just the way you appear. Sometimes Grace talked about criticism, which is a barrier. So sometimes it's just how you sneer, or how you, for ladies, how you roll your eyes, you know. You know, just turn your head there, or for men, just not gazing at you, you know. So that can be a big barrier. And so that you are sending a communication. Either you're saying, I'm not interested in what you're saying, or you are putting down. You can put down somebody just by just your facial expression, or even your body language. They say when you fold your hands, then you see like I'm resisting you. So it communicates a lot. Just the way you appear, the way your facial expression is, and the tone of voice.
The tone.
Yes. You can say that we say this. Communication is not just about what you're saying; it's how you're saying it. How you're saying it. So if the tone is harsh. And so often ladies will say, no, my husband's tone was very harsh. Sometimes we speak with a lot of authoritative voice instead of an intimate voice. For men, they can read a lot in disrespect in their wives' tone. Just by the way you come and, you know, ask them to do something, and for them they're reading, am I being commanded or am I being requested? You see, so again, the tone of voice matters a lot.
Oh wow. And, you know, for my viewers and also listeners, I just want to tell them here, there's an non-verbal communication between their chokis. They color complementing each other. You guys should see. Anyway, so Grace, there's this issue of course there are conflicts in marriages. So how can a couple just communicate to each other effectively and in a very nice way to handle a conflict or misunderstanding?
Yes. conflict in marriage, that's a big one. In fact, we've written a book on conflict, navigating conflict in marriage.
Wow.
Because that's a big one for in marriage. And conflict starts before even you get married. We say that where 2 or 3 are gathered, there must be conflict in their midst, because it's part of life.
Right.
I mean, and conflict is not bad, because it's just communicating that there is something that is inside that is not happening.
Okay.
For example, if you're driving a car and you see the signs, maybe a red sign on the dashboard, it would be very silly of you to hit the glass and break it because you're trying to get to the red light.
Yeah.
So in marriage, when there is conflict, then it is important for the couple to, of course they know that there is conflict, and sometimes they're not talking. It's been silent for maybe a week or even so, or even 3 days. It is important for them to sit down, communicate in one way or the other. We always say the bigger one, but I say anyone can do it. Begin to communicate even non-verbally.
Yes.
Sometimes because the verbal can bring the wrong or send a wrong message.
Okay.
So non-verbally, it could be even just touch. Try and reach out. Because when I touch, then I'm telling you I'm here for you. When I touch, it shows that I want to reach out to you.
Yeah.
Yes, I know that there is something that is happening, but I still want us to work through this thing. So one of the ways is just to touch.
Yeah.
The other way is to, and especially as Christians, just to calm down that horse. Because when there is conflict, we are both proud.
Yeah.
And we are both on our high horses.
And you both feel offended.
And
I'm the one who's been wronged.
Yes. Or I'm the one who is always bringing up issues.
Yeah.
So I'm tired. I'm not going to do that. But how far will you get with that? What is it that you're really looking for in your marriage? Is it to be right or is it to be happy? And if I want to be happy, because whatever happens at home is affected also. It affects the way my day, turns out. Yeah. So if I refuse to resolve, and I say I'm not going to do it because I'm the one who's always doing it, then when I go to the office, what I do is I project what is inside to the other colleagues.
Yeah.
So you're just not messing up at home, but you go to the office and that is what you're carrying everywhere, to your children, to your colleagues, to your cat, everything is just upside down. So non-verbal communication would help, touch, my facial expression. It also shows that I'm relaxed, I'm ready for us to talk.
Yeah.
It could be just a text message, that you're sending. It could be just that foot touching the other foot, and especially at night, it shows that can we try? Of course, that foot may be kicked away, but it is okay. And I tried, So not giving up, bottom line, is not giving up, but trying what you can do.
Yeah.
You may be the one who will always bring it up, but hey, what if God meant that you're the one who always brings it up? What if that is how the relationship is? Because the other one is very, very conflict avoidant. So for you who has that gift, and that strength to do that, bring it so that we are not spending 3 months not talking because somebody did not bring it up.
So what happens when you feel like, your partner is, you're misunderstood? He's not understanding you in a scenario where there's conflict?
And so often, conflict is as a result of misunderstanding. That's why the communication is a difficult thing. In fact, a lot of it is a miscommunication. But going back to what Grace is saying, the person who wants to always bring it up, that's their way of reacting to the conflict. And then the person who doesn't bring it up and withdraws, that's also their way of reacting to the conflict. So we have different styles that we respond to it.
Okay.
But a lot of it is, like you're saying, is a misunderstanding. Because, so it's never, we tell couples, as we do a lot of couple therapy, so it's not about right or wrong. Because those are things we can argue. As far as one is concerned, they're right.
Okay.
And the other one is saying you're wrong.
You're wrong,
you can argue forever. So it's just a matter of, can I try to understand what is it that made you feel the way you felt? And once that understanding comes in, I may not agree with you, but I want to understand where you're coming from.
Okay.
And that's now the process of resolving the conflict.
The conflict.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in this, you know, still in this environment of conflict, you want to speak your mind, but you also, how do you go about it? You want to speak your mind, yes, but you also want to be considerate about your partner's or your spouse's feelings. How then do you trade on this, you know? Yeah.
That's a difficult one because with strangers at the office you can do that. But in an intimate relationship, we are free to be ourselves. And so most often we will react first. So that reaction can be, you know, you speak your mind, but maybe how you spoke it did go well, so it may land wrongly. So again, there's always take two. So that's what now what we talk about. We talk about repairing the disconnection or resolving the conflict, because maybe the way you came forcefully, but because you are very this thing, you felt it, and your feelings are very strong. Yeah. So that's how it comes out very strong, and you're speaking your mind, because it's better to speak your mind than not to speak your mind.
Than not to speak your
so
mind.
Maybe what then would time need to learn is how do I speak my mind in a way that I don't trigger my spouse. And I think Grace talked about it earlier, about criticism and attack and blame. So you're always careful not to come across as if you're blaming them for whatever is happening to you or attacking them. And so we talk about using the I statements as opposed to you did this, you came late, you know, why you don't care. No, you know, that's an accusation. What makes you think I don't care? So say when you did this, I felt you didn't care. So now I'm talking about myself. I'm talking about what I felt. Okay. That's now a proper way of still speaking your mind, but in a way that you're not triggering.
You're also sensitive to the other person.
To the other person. Exactly.
Yeah. And it's a skill that you learn because it's not something that just happens. It's a skill that you learn. When you say, and you always catch yourself, I felt not cared for. So it removes that blame and that accusation. And so the person then, it opens a door for them, the recipient, it opens a door for them to now respond to what you're saying, rather than throw an attack. Because you know what happens is, it becomes a cycle. You're throwing something negative, the other one also throws another negative, and it's just a cycle. And the argument can go on and on and on and for days. So breaking that cycle and just talking really about what you felt. And nobody can really shut you down because of your feelings. I mean, they are feelings. The emotions are emotions. That is what I felt. I felt frustrated. You know, so you can't say, why did you feel frustrated? You should not feel frustrated. Why are you laughing? You should not laugh. You know, I mean, that's an emotion. You can't stop it. But that is what happened. You may not agree with it, but that is how I felt. So learning how to express yourself without attacking the other person can be easily received rather than you blaming and attacking the other person.
Wow. And so you're here and there's this conversation, probably as a couple you feel is uncomfortable, is a bit difficult to approach. How do you go about it? Probably the elephant at that time in the room. How do you go about that?
And I think that's what we are talking about, is first to ask yourself, because we rarely do that.
Yes.
It's first to ask myself, what is it that I want in this situation?
Right.
We are so often good at saying what we don't want and don't like, as opposed to what we like and want. So what am I fighting for here? What is it that I really want? So that when you're coming into that conversation, you're saying, you see, I know things have been difficult, this is what is happening, but this is what I really want. And being sensitive also not to, again, going back to what we're saying, blame, attack, accuse the other person. So this is a situation that we're dealing with, and this is what I feel about this situation. So it was what you feel about the situation and what you'll desire, maybe from that situation.
So that's what will guide you on how you go about this conversation.
So you're always, it's always about you, communicating what you're thinking, what you're feeling, your opinion about that, as opposed to coming with an assumption and beginning to attack the other person, you know, like using words like you don't care. You know, already that puts a block. Some may not attack you directly, but they just put a barrier, and from there, the communication has gone down.
Right.
Because you are not, what do you want? You want to penetrate, you want to connect to that person. So if they put up that barrier, you're not able to connect with them.
Welcome back to Relationship Clinic this morning, where we're discussing about communication in relationships, and the experts are here. Honestly, if you miss this, you'll have yourself to blame. And so we go to our comments section. There are Chokis, and I can see questions here. Good morning, Sally and the beautiful couple. Indeed, they are beautiful. They are Chokis. My questions are based on my own relationship. It's almost 5 years now, and my wife and I are not talking, neither intimate, okay? And is this a marriage that can be salvaged? Because I can see she's giving up on us. That's the first question. And then the second one would be, how can someone communicate their expectations clearly, or do we assume the other person knows already what we want? So I don't know who will take what. Okay.
Let me start with the second, then I come to the first.
Okay.
So often, that's a problem in many relationships and marriages. We assume a lot.
Okay.
Expectations are buried within ourselves. And unless we come to a place of, one, recognizing that I have an expectation in something, and then communicating that expectation.
Okay.
I shouldn't assume that my spouse should know. And sometimes also we have expectations of our spouse. So when you find yourself saying you should have done this, so who told them they should have done that?
Yeah.
You see, that's just an expectation you had of them, but it's not really something that maybe they should do.
Okay.
Like it's written that this is what they should do. So expectations need to be communicated.
Okay.
When they're not communicated, then we get disappointed, and when we're disappointed, then we start fighting, and that's where that leads to a conflict. The first question is 5 years. 5 years is a long time.
Yeah.
And this is something that is common in many marriages. By the time people are seeing a therapist, going for counseling, so often it has taken 5, 6, 7 years of things not working.
Yeah.
And can the marriage be salvaged? Yes, but it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of digging. Okay. It's going to take a lot of going back, and I'm praying that the wife still can give it a chance. But they need to immediately ASAP see somebody, see a counselor to help them unpack whatever happened that made them stop communicating. Yeah, so 5 years is quite a long time, but it can still be salvaged, but it's going to take a lot of work.
Okay.
And so our encouragement is, when you start finding that you cannot resolve the conflicts or the issues between you, the two of you, please seek help. And that help is not from family. Many people go to their mother or a friend who is just their peer, you know, and it might be a good start for a peer, but please don't go to family, because family, they say blood is thicker than water. See people who are neutral person who are qualified, who can help you unpack whatever is happening and get you unstuck in the situations you find yourself stuck in.
And I really concur with him, because when you talk about 5 years, the friends or the people around you may look at issues and they may say, this is such a small issue. Whatever you're talking about is so small. It may look small in their eyes, but this could be a deep-rooted issue. Something that because you're looking at the leaves of a tree, but there is a root problem. And maybe those things even began before they got married. So it's important to see somebody who is neutral and somebody who can look at the issues objectively and help you walk through that journey.
Okay. So what happens when there's effective and good, because we've focused on a lot of, so what happens when there's good communication, it's effective, how do we expect to see this relationship? How does it come out? Thriving, is it?
It's thriving. There is happiness. There is joy. There is the issues are resolved immediately.
Yes.
You don't wait for 2 days or 3 days or 4 days. You know, there is a lot of talking, and there's a lot of non-verbal also. You know, remember I talked about touch, because you really don't want somebody who is not talking to you to touch you. You feel like you repel them. But when there is effective communication, then you're able to, there is touch, there is joy, and everybody is happy. And that is what is projected when you also go to the office or to your place of work, wherever, if you're in business. You see, that is what is projected. That is what and people are just generally happy. There may be one or two. It doesn't mean that you will not have conflict. that does not mean that there's going to be an absence of conflict. But when the conflict comes and you have the skills and you know how to effectively communicate, then you resolve it quickly because you have the tools.
Yeah.
So you're able to use the tools so that everybody is happy. Both of you are happy.
And how do you create that space for, you know, open and vulnerable communication? You know, there are people who don't even know where to start from, even probably a new couple, you know, or the young adults who are dating. How do you create that space?
Yeah, even older couples. We've grown in a culture probably where we've, and not even culture, generally, what happens is we fear to be vulnerable because maybe when, you know, kids are very vulnerable. They will share what they like. I don't like you. They will tell you that. And that's just being open. But you see, as we grew up, then certain things happened and we learned to not be vulnerable with others, maybe because we were hurt or something was used against you or you were reprimanded. And so you started closing up and developed a coping mechanism, which now, unfortunately, in marriage becomes a big barrier to the relationship because you've not learned to be open because of certain fears. Now we fear to be known for who we really are. Yet, for us to be intimate in a relationship, we must be known for who we really are. And so it's a risk. Being vulnerable is a risk. Sometimes there's a fear of will she reject me if she knows this about me? And this even begins in courtship. You know, so sometimes we hide some things and it takes time as we become safer as the time goes by, as we communicate and we see that we are being accepted, then we start feeling safer and safer, and the more safer we feel, the more vulnerable we can become. Yes.
Okay, I'm on the socials again, and I'm seeing someone saying here, there's a question actually. Good morning, Sally, happy to see their Choki's amazing couple. I would like to ask Madam Grace, why do you ladies say one thing and mean a totally different thing? And has Mr. Choki experienced that kind of a situation?
I'm sure he's going to answer that if he has experienced that kind of situation. But
first, I think then first he should tell us, have you experienced?
Yes.
Thank you for that question.
I have experienced it. Let me give an example. So one time we were seated at home, just the two of us. And then Grace says, I wish somebody will make for me a cup of tea. So I asked her, there's two of us here, so who is that somebody? So men are direct in their communication. Women are very indirect. So that's why sometimes it can be very frustrating for a man, because for men, we want direct. Tell me this. Women are very indirect. So you circle the airport, you go around, and then before you finally land the plane, the man wants to just come directly. So that day, you know, when she's telling me, I wish somebody would make for me a cup of tea, so I'm wondering, but there's only two of us. That person. So it means it's me. So why don't you just ask me, can you please make me a cup of tea?
I guess we have to put the spice in the stew. And that's why we just keep circling the airport so that the conversation becomes juicier. We're not just going direct, you know, I want. You know, I mean, and it can even be in sexual matters, by the way. You don't just say, I want. If you're initiating and you just tell your husband, I want, give me now. You know, so you have to behave in a way that, yes, they're looking at you and they're seeing, wow, this person is actually initiating. So it's because, again, I guess it's because we are also very relational. And so as women, we may say one thing. For example, if a woman says, if a man asks, the husband asks, how was your day? And the lady says, fine. Or it was good. But you know that the tone is not, it's a bit off.
So the answer lies in there, in that tone.
The answer lies in the tone. That good is loaded. Unpack that good. And that's where effective communication also comes in, because we are able to unpack and talk and express ourselves. We are limited in our vocabulary when it comes to emotions. We'll just say good or bad. But that good and bad is loaded. So if I say good or it was bad and the tone is off, and as the husband, you just say, okay, she doesn't want to talk. She's fine. If are you okay? I'm okay. I'm okay, but you can read in the tone, I'm not okay. She's not okay. And you say she's an adult. When she's ready to talk,
she'll talk.
Hey, far 5 days later, she says, you don't even care. And what do you mean I don't care? That you can't see that I'm not okay. But you told me you're okay. So what did you expect me to do? The expectation of the wife is that when she says she's okay, if she has not said she's okay, then follow up.
Yeah.
Because then she's not okay.
Yeah.
And so you're not a mind reader, but the body language will tell you that something is off.
Right.
Either the body language or the facial expression or just the tone will tell you that something is wrong. And that is what you read. That is what you follow up. So you don't have to insist. You can give her some time, maybe 10 minutes or half an hour, then go back and just ask, I can see that you look frustrated. I may be wrong, but you look frustrated. Is that okay? Is that accurate? And you may find she just breaks down crying.
Okay.
So sometimes, you know, just the way the men pursue women before they they marry them.
That should continue even in
wants
marriage.
to be pursued. So because I mean, the people in the office will say you're not okay, and they will follow up. So you as a husband, follow up and find out, she's your wife. Follow up and find out, what is it that is happening? I can see there's something. I may be wrong. A day later, still follow up because you pursued her and brought her into your house.
True.
So continue pursuing her.
And I think sometimes the challenge with men is in those situations, they fear to prod further because when they see you not okay, they feel, is it something I've not done or done? And men hate to hurt their spouse. They hate to look like they have failed. And so sometimes that fear keeps them away. I'm not saying it's the right thing, but it can keep them away. And like Grace is saying, the lady is now hoping the husband will pursue, but he is not because of his own fears. Going back to what you said about vulnerabilities, and so they become disconnected.
Okay.
And that's how resentment comes in. Because the more this happens, the lady begins feeling this guy doesn't care.
Absolutely.
And the guy, because he's fearful, starts feeling there's nothing good I'm doing here. But he's not vulnerable enough to say, hey, what is it, and to prod and to find out what's happening.
Okay.
Because with him looking at her, he may be feeling, is it something I have done? Is it something? And it could even be something from the office.
Yeah.
It may not be him, but see, sometimes we turn it to ourselves. And even for the ladies in a relationship, we always look at it as, is it my fault? But it's not about the fault, it's just that what is happening in you. Yeah, what are you going through?
Grace, how long have you, the kneel by mouth, have you ever given your husband that kneel by mouth, and for how long without talking? Like you said, I'm not talking to him until.
You know, for us, because I'm not conflict averse, for me, I'm like Jacob. I shall not let you go until you bless me. So when there is a conflict or when he has offended me in a way, I'm the one who pursues. I will pursue and pursue. But of course, if there is a silence, I don't even know if I go for long because it itches, for me it itches me. We are not talking, you know, we are not.
If she goes silent, I also go silent because for me, I'm wondering what's happening. And for me, I fear conflict. I love my peace. So I withdraw and I hold back. And that holding back now frustrates her because she's feeling, she wants some attention, she wants some conversation, and this person is just, so she comes back at me. And now that now stirs up the conversation.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Lovely. Okay, and so we have a situation probably here. Probably there's a couple and their secrets. You know, they just discover something from, let's say even if it's a financial issue. So Barnabas sends cash, for example, to the sister, blah, blah, blah. And you've agreed, we'll be discussing then they just text you, oh, Aki, you guys, thank you so much. How do you handle situations where there's secrets or, well, you know, information which has been withheld from you?
That's a painful one. That's a painful one.
That definitely causes a lot of conflict. Going back again to what you said, the question will be, why will somebody do that? First, before we attack the person, why will somebody do that? So, and I've seen situations where somebody said, no, I know she won't agree. So I just said to do it. You see, because maybe the other person, maybe has tried and the person has shown this radical stand that this should not be done.
Right.
And the person really feels it must be done. And so because I know that my wife is not going to agree to it, then I decided to do it secretly. Of course, it still brings a lot of problems. So yeah, it's a case of trust. Feeling trust is broken because now the other person is left wondering, what more are you not telling me?
Yeah.
What other things are happening in your life that you're not telling me? Who else are you sending money to?
Exactly.
You know, that's how now suspicions and insecurities begin to stem up.
Okay.
So in such situations, the couple must sit down and talk so that, again, that's in resolving that conflict. So the guy then, again, in the spirit of vulnerability, is to be able to say, now, what I said earlier is how you create a safe space.
Yes.
Instead of coming attacking, come asking.
Yeah.
Hey, I noticed this. What made you do that? And the person may have a good reason because now you've made.
Maybe it's coming from a good place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or from his own fears that I
Yeah.
thought, you know, you'd agree and I really felt that this should happen. And the person may say, no, this is a good thing. I should have agreed. And, you know, please next time, you know.
Okay.
You see. But if you come, you know, you're now sending money to your sister, the other person will block you off.
Yeah.
And again, of course, they're also feeling guilty because they know they did something that is against what you agreed.
Yeah.
They react to it. Now it becomes a full-fledged conflict.
Grace, you may want to add something?
Yes, and that is where now the silence comes in because there is a flare, and then you stop talking because you're saying then there's no need of us agreeing on things if you cannot keep that what we've agreed on, and there's loss of trust. So then how do I trust you? How do we continue in this relationship if there is no trust? It may look like a small thing to somebody else because could be the wife is not working. Or the husband is not working. So the one who has the money or who is working is the one who has sent.
Yeah.
So for this other person who is not working, they are feeling, well, because I don't chip in, then you make the decisions.
Okay.
So then my opinions are not heard. You know, I'm just there. You know, and they begin to resent you. They begin to block and have bitterness in them. And of course, that creates maybe a wound in their lives because they feel that they are not really part of you. You're not partners. You know, you're just there. But remember, life has a way, so the tables can turn. So we need to take care of each other. That respect. Because when you're doing that, yes, you may have done it out of a good heart, but are you respecting the other person and what you have agreed on? Then you come back and really apologize. Because if she asks you or he asks you that, and you say, but I'm the one who gets money, I'm the one who goes out there, or you start defending yourself, you know. So communication is trying to understand where the other person is coming from, but also this part, each of the place, because both of you are coming from somewhere. So you who has sent, try to understand what the other person is feeling. Don't just say no, but they were in need and they were in hospital. You know. Just try to understand. But you who your spouse has sent, try to also understand what pushed him. Maybe he was afraid. And he was afraid because last time he asked you and you refused. So there's history. There may be history. They may be history, but try to understand each other.
Fantastic. Well, very well said. I'm seeing there's a viewer online who is saying, morning, I'm Lydia, mine is worse. That whenever there's, you know, a discussion comes up on radio, I switch off. No communication, abandonment, desertion, etc. Yani, I'm literally alone and it's destroying me slowly. Kindly help. You know, when there's such a discussion like what we're discussing here, she just turns it off because I think she feels she's abandoned, she deserted in her relationship, and she needs help. So I don't know, you know, it may not be a full session, but something that can help her.
She is hurting. She is hurting. When you're talking about the benefits, actually, the whole purpose of communication is to bring connection.
Right.
And Sally, we were made for connection. So when there is a disconnection, and that's what this lady is feeling, this feels alone, you feel abandoned, you feel left on your own. And that can be a very, very painful journey. And so my encouragement to her will be to first start seeking, maybe even counseling for herself, so that she then can begin to have hope again, can begin to look at things differently.
Yeah.
And in the process, hopefully, the spouse may also see, and she can be able to then to talk to the spouse so that they can then also be able to seek help together.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Lydia, I'm sure wherever she is, you know, she's picked that. That's quite a great tip.
Yeah.
And before this comment, there was the issue of, you know, the money trust and all. So here trust has been broken. How do you rebuild trust now through communication?
Wow, and that's a journey. Once trust has been broken, and by the way, again, talking about trust, in any relationship, trust is not earned once and for all.
Yes.
Trust there'll be many times trust will be broken.
Okay.
And then how we repair, how we resolve issues is how we rebuild trust.
Okay.
Failure to rebuild, to restore, to resolve our issues leads to trust being completely broken.
Okay.
So there's always repairing and going back to resolve issues to get to a deeper understanding, and then trust is restored. But when that doesn't happen, then we remain in a place where trust is broken and we cannot move beyond that. Now, like what Grace was saying earlier, that history now forms the basis of how we relate.
Okay.
We relate based on what that history is. And so even when you're promising, and maybe you have even decided to change, I cannot believe you have changed because of that history. So, and we talked about it earlier, one of the other biggest barriers to communication is our perceptions.
Yeah.
Because the history has built a perception.
Okay.
And so even when the other person has changed, I still have that perception. And when they're saying and truly saying something, I cannot trust them because of just what happened. And that's why we have to go back there and unearth that, speak, talk about it, resolve the issue, forgive each other, and then move forward. And trust can then be restored.
Grace?
Let me add on that. When there is perception, there needs to also be change in behavior. Because if there is no change in behavior, then it just cements the perception that the other person has. So the one who was, let's just call them the offender, needs to come to a place where they are changing their behavior. If that happened once, then you can say, yes, I'm sorry, and you know, this is not going to happen again. I need to consult you. If it happens continuously, then there is a problem, and there is a big problem. Is it a character issue, or is it something that we need to seek help for? Because then there is no change of behavior. So when there is no change of behavior, the other person will feel, well, I can't trust you. Then the little trust that we are building or rebuilding is broken. We go to 50, we come back to 30. We go to 40, we come. So so there must be a commitment to first a commitment to change of behavior, and then find out how can we help each other or one another in this change as we are changing. What are some of the things that we need to do? Maybe when you get the phone call, please call me, or when you get a text, please forward it to me. So that I can see that there is effort. So there must be, the two of you have to sit down and say, this is how we need to now work this thing way forward. So that we're not just saying change behavior, but how do we change? What are the things that we are putting in place? So it's a discussion that the two people must have, not one person.
A discussion between the two people. And also there's some time that you find you're a couple, and the whole day, Barnabas, you've stayed without texting Grace or even checking on her. Or even when she does check on you or text you, you are too busy. Is there anyone who can be too busy for their, spouse? So that kind of situation, how do you handle it?
Yeah, let's be honest. In the earlier days, it wasn't that way. We grow to a space of being too familiar. They say familiarity breeds contempt. So we become too familiar and begin to take each other for granted. That's basically what happens. A friend of mine was telling us a story how the wife was used to work at Dusit when the terrorist attack happened. And so he's in a meeting, and his wife is trying to reach out to him, and he's in a meeting, he looks, and the wife is just ignores the call. That's how sometimes the extent to which we can come and take each other for granted. Only to get home that evening and find that the wife actually has not come home. That's the time that he's watching news and is realizing, oh my, I'm telling you, that thing really shook him and completely changed his life.
Him.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's important to communicate.
Yeah.
Take some time. I know we can get busy, we can get swamped with a lot of things that are happening, but it's always good to just touch base and just
prioritize.
Find out.
I think it's also prioritizing.
It's also communication. Now, that's communication.
Yeah.
That communicates. You prioritize this other person. And so the other person again complaining, and because again going back to communication. So when you start complaining that you don't even call me, this other person is wondering, so what's a big deal? But then when you communicate and say, see, when you don't take time to communicate with me, I feel like I'm not important to you. Now the other person can realize, oh wow, so this means this much to you. And for sometimes one spouse, and mainly ladies, it means a whole lot. For the guys, may not mean as much. But please communicate, because it means it communicates that I'm thinking about you. It communicates that you are important, you are a priority in my life.
And just because of time, Grace, I think I'll give you like 30 seconds to, I think you want to add something to that? What is it? Please, in 30 seconds.
Yes. It also communicates to the wife that you're still pursuing her. Because that's a wife, however old you are in marriage, they still need to be pursued. So when you communicate, it sends, it's a big message. It's volumes. You're sending volumes to this person. And you may communicate and they may not communicate back, but you have touched their heart. And I'm sure when you get home, then there's going to be, that big communication that is going to also still happen. So communicate. Your wife needs to hear your voice. Your wife needs to see you send that text to her.
Fantastic. Unfortunately, we have to come to the end of this amazing conversation, and I think we'll have a part 2 of this, because it is wide, it is huge. So I'll definitely have you back here. Thank you so much to each and every one of you who's given us your time. You've texted us, you've engaged us in various ways, comments and compliments, and those questions we really do appreciate. And I also want to give a special thanks to our donors, the people who've been supporting us, holding our hands to ensure that we are here, we are giving you this beautiful, clean content for your families, for you to learn. We really appreciate our supporters. And in case you just want to be part of this amazing community, to support this worthy cause, please send your contribution, whatever it is, your donation, to pay bill number 316, and the account number shall be your telephone number. Thank you so much. God bless you, and let's do this again next week by the grace of God. Bless you. Thank you so much.